militant group Islamic State has claimed responsibility for an attack on the South Korean embassy to Libya in Tripoli. 2 security guards were killed, but no Korean casualties were reported. Prosecutors will investigate the bribery accusations against Lake Gyeongnam Enterprises CEO Sung Won-jong. The list published last week purports to name politicians that benefited. And the first anniversary of the Sewol Ferry sinking approaches this week. We check in with the survivors who seek to heal their emotional wounds. Hello and welcome to News Today on KBS World. It's Monday, April 13th. I'm Luke Clary. The South Korean embassy to Libya has come under deadly attack by gunmen believed to be associated with the militant group Islamic State. 2 security guards were killed, but no South Korean nationals were among the casualties. The next priority for authorities is the safe evacuation of embassy officials.
The guard post of the South Korean embassy in Tripoli, the capital of Libya, was attacked by armed terrorists at 1:20 a.m. Sunday local time. The terrorists fired over 40 heavy machine gun shots from a car and fled the scene right away. 2 of the 3 policemen who were on duty at the time were killed. The remaining 1 was seriously injured. Sources say 2 South Korean diplomats and 1 employee who were at the embassy at the time were unharmed. 2 hours after the shooting spree, a terror group that claimed to be connected to ISIS claimed responsibility for the attack on its Twitter page. The South Korean government is taking a cautious stance, as it's still too early to conclude that the attack is targeted specifically at Korea. But the government is looking for ways to temporarily evacuate embassy officials and local Koreans for safety reasons.
Prosecutors have set up a special investigative team on bribery accusations against Lake Gyeongnam Enterprises chairman Sung Won-jong. The special investigative team wants to know where the late businessman spent slush funds worth nearly $3 million and whether he had stashed more money elsewhere.
Prosecutors set up a special investigative team to launch a full-scale probe into the so-called Sung Won-jong list. Led by head of Daejeon District Prosecutor's Office Moon Moo-il, the 10-member special investigative team will operate from an office on the 12th floor of the Seoul High Prosecutor's Office. The team will probe a bribery scandal involving political heavyweights, which was ignited by former Gyeongnam Enterprises chairman Sung Won-jong. The special investigative team will first focus on finding where the nearly $3 million in question were spent, having been withdrawn over 370 occasions since 2007. Prosecutors have obtained related testimony from a former Gyeongnam Enterprises accountant that he had withdrawn approximately $50,000 and delivered it to Sung in early 2011, as per his direct orders. Prosecutors will also investigate whether there were more slush funds operated by Sung in addition to the previously disclosed amount. Daily newspaper Gyeongyang-Shinmun has accepted prosecutors' request to present a recording of a phone interview with Sung in its entirety.
Large retail companies which have been struggling recently because of low domestic demand are competing fiercely to win the right to open duty-free shops in downtown areas. Some are even joining hands as 3 companies look forward to July for the go-ahead to open duty-free shops in downtown Seoul.
Scores of tourists disembarked from a tour bus.
化妆品、手表花了2万差不多。
Sales of duty-free shops in Korea have soared on the surge in the number of Chinese tourists. Duty-free stores in downtown areas have been growing exponentially, reaching close to $5 billion in scope last year. With 3 more duty-free facilities approved for downtown Seoul in the first time in 15 years, large retailers are competing fiercely to win the right to operate duty-free shops. They're hoping duty-free sales to foreign tourists will help their businesses make up for the slump in the domestic economy in recent years. The most aggressive contender is Hyundai Development Company, which has joined hands with Hotel Shilla.
아이파크몰의 입지적인 관점과 호텔 신라의 운영 노하우가 결합이 된다면 최상의 시너지를 발휘할 수 있겠다는 판단하에
Hyundai is supposed to build the largest duty-free shop in the nation. The massive store will total 10,000 square meters in size. Lotte, Shinsegae, SK Networks, and Hanwha Galleria are also searching for candidate sites for their prospective duty-free shops. The owners of the 3 new duty-free shops will be finalized in July. Competition in the downtown duty-free market is heating up as only 2 of the stores will be run by conglomerates.
The first anniversary of the Sewol Ferry sinking is just 4 days away. Over the past year, survivors of the maritime disaster have been struggling to soothe their emotional wounds. And today, we share their suffering.
Freight driver Oh Yong-sun, a survivor of the Sewol Ferry disaster, visited the site of the tragedy for the first time in a year.
1년 되시니 평목하게 오나네. 어떤 생각 들음시? 너무 허무하지.
24 freight drivers survived the Sewol Ferry sinking. Most of them reside on Jeju Island. To receive medical attention for their psychological trauma, they must travel all the way to Ansan, Gyeonggi Province, where a psychological counseling center is located.
제주도도 트라우마 센터 생겨달라. 우리 치료하는데 이걸 어떻게 해서 우리의 원상태로 돌아가냐. 그런 마음으로 가져 있어서 계속 도청에 가서 요구를 많이 했죠.
In the harrowing life or death situation, Kim Dong-soo rescued more than 10 passengers by pulling them up with a fire hose. However, the government refused to recognize him as a compensation recipient, citing a lack of evidence.
범죄가 일어나면 그 사람을 보호하는 것이 우선인데 정작 이 나라 국가는 우리를 보호하려고 하는 그런 것이 전혀 안 잡혀 있어가지고.
More proactive support appears necessary for Sewol survivors who have had to remain silent for the sole reason that they survived.
Asian black bears living on Mount Jiri have given birth to 5 cubs. The event serves as further proof of the successful efforts to restore the species in the nation.
A flashlight reveals several bear cubs in the cave. They are the youngsters of Asian black bears, which are Korea's national monument number 329. The cubs lick the rocks and even play with an unmanned camera. They all have clear, moon-shaped patterns on their chests. 5 cubs have been born recently on Mount Jiri.
새끼들은 몸무게가 4kg 이상으로 모두 건강한 상태입니다.
The cubs drink their mother's milk and play with her. The mother doesn't leave her cubs alone, even for a moment. One of the cubs lost its mother and was brought to a shelter. The zookeeper makes food for the young bear. Before delivering it to the animal, he puts on a bear mask so that the cub doesn't get frightened. The Korea National Park Service has also succeeded in creating a pedigree of the Asian black bears based on their genetic data. The Asian Black Bear Restoration Project, which was launched in 2004, began with just 6 bears and has been gradually producing results. Once the population of this endangered species starts growing steadily, the efforts to restore Mount Jiri's ecosystem are expected to gain pace.
In Korea, educational comics are popular among children as a fun and easy way to learn about school subjects like history and science. These cartoons are gaining huge popularity in Thailand, of all places. Here's the story.
This is a children's educational comics section at a book fair held in Bangkok. Most of the popular books were first published in Korea and then translated into Thai.
วันนี้ซื้อหนังสือของนันมีทั้งหมด11เล่มครับผมก็จะซื้อเซตของเอาชีวิตรอดแล้วก็ประดิษฐ์ครับเพราะว่ามันน่าสนใจครับ
With the growing popularity of Korean educational comics, one of Thailand's major publishers translates and publishes some 200 Korean educational titles a year. Science comics and survival series are the most popular, recording sales of more than 1 million copies. 10 million copies of Korean educational comics have been sold so far, accounting for half of the publisher's earnings. The secret to their popularity is the element of fun which stimulates children's curiosity. Other educational comics are limited to simply delivering information, but Korean titles prevent boredom by adding entertainment to the information.
เมื่อเทียบกับถ้าเป็นหนังสือการ์ตูนจากประเทศอื่นนะคะการ์ตูนจากประเทศอื่นเนี่ยความรู้กับส่วนการ์ตูนเนี่ยจะถูกแยกออกจากกันในขณะที่เกาหลีเนี่ยสามารถที่จะดึงเอาความรู้วิทยาศาสตร์เนี่ยผสมผสานเข้าไปกับชีวิตประจำวัน
Even as Thai publishing companies struggle financially due to a drop in readership, Korean educational comics are creating a sensation.
The last slum in Seoul's affluent Gangnam district is about to become history as developers move in. Here's the story of the families preparing to leave their home of the last 30 years for public rental housing.
About 250 poor and needy families were pushed out of their homes by the real estate development boom in the 1980s and came to settle in 3 areas in Gangnam. Those ghettos became the homes for some 600 people. The residents have been living here for more than 30 years, but they were oftentimes treated as aliens in one of Seoul's richest districts.
왜 애들이 여기 산다는 걸 갖다가 수미론이라고 친구가 집에 가자고 그러면 돌아서 오는 경우도 있다고.
Since the shacks were unauthorized, the residents didn't have addresses to enter in their resident registration cards. Only after undergoing several court hearings were they able to register their new addresses and allowed to put nameplates on their homes last year. But Talto Village is slated to be demolished in October as part of an urban renewal plan and will be turned into a park.
무허가 건물은 보온 판자 이렇게 덮개로 해가지고서 지금 화재에 매우 취약하고요. 또 집중 호우 시 또 산에 붙어있기 때문에 수해 위험성도 있어서.
The Talto residents are slated to move into public rental housing with much better living conditions. Now the old urban slum will be preserved only in pictures.
The latest trend in K-pop is remaking old songs and dances and selling them to the Chinese market. Let's take a look at the latest Hallyu trend in today's Showbiz segment.
This song is a remake of Psy's Father, which was released in China recently. Psy recorded his previous hit from 10 years ago, only this time in Chinese. The song took first place on the music video chart of China's largest portal website. The song's popularity in China is largely thanks to Chinese-born pianist Lang Lang's piano accompaniment and the song's theme about filial love, which appealed to the Chinese audience. Psy's management agency said the artist is considering the production of more remakes of his old hits.
대단한 할리우드 스타, 세계적인 스타가 자기 노래를 가지고 중국의 최고의 스타하고 같이 그 콜라보레이션을 했다는 것 자체가 어떻게 보면 이슈 메이킹이 가능했지 않았나.
New K-pop idol groups have included old dance moves in their routines for performances in China. The most frequently revisited choreography is from first-generation K-pop idol group H.O.T. smash hit Candy, released 20 years ago. The Chinese audience are even searching for old TV shows which feature their favorite Hallyu stars. Remakes are quickly emerging as new content to keep the Korean pop culture wave rolling.
More and more people are enjoying horseback riding as a hobby. Once regarded as an elite sport, riding a horse is becoming more commonplace among common folk. Today, we highlight the fun and healthy activity of horsemanship. This racecourse in Gyeonggi Province is pretty crowded. Safety gear is essential when riding a horse due to the risk of falling off the animal. Interacting with the horse is also important. Calmly soothe the horse as you get on it. Anyone can ride a horse by learning just a few basic moves.
제 몸이 조금 더 유연해지고 그리고 이제 타면은 진짜 뭐 저는 하늘을 나는 것 같아요. 아주 기분 좋아요.
The biggest burden, however, would be the cost. It can cost as much as $90 for a single ride. But 30 or so horseback riding schools can be found nationwide, offering 10 sessions a year for about $220.
근본 문화공감센터에 사회공헌 승마 교실을 통해 지역 주민도 저렴한 가격으로 승마를 배울 수 있도록 계획하고 있습니다.
At one riding ground in Gyeonggi Province, visitors can try their hands at equestrianism if they have a certificate showing they have donated blood. Horse riding is much more than a hobby and has generous health benefits. It's especially known to be effective in maintaining a sturdy waist.
승마는 주로 하체를 통해서 허리 근력을 개발시켜주는 데 있어서는 상당히 탁월한 효과가 있는데 특히 허리 근력이 좋아지게 되면 디스크라든지 협착증에는 상당히 좋은 효과가 나타날 수가 있고요.
These days, it's popular among a growing number of women focused on keeping a shapely body. While jogging burns 693 kilocalories an hour, horse riding can consume over 4 times this amount and some 3,000 kilocalories, which leads to short-term weight loss.
여자들끼리 배우니까 아무래도 속도나 이런 부분에 있어서 어렵지도 않고 운동도 되는 것 같고 되게 상쾌하고요. 승마 배우고 나서부터 좀 일상에 활력이 생긴 것 같아요.
With riding experience of at least 3 months, a rider can then hit the racetrack and even enjoy riding on the beach. Why not seek out the closest riding ground in your area to pick up a healthy hobby? Now let's take a look at the markets, followed by the world weather. That's it for this edition of News Today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again at the same time tomorrow. Goodbye.